Y'all, I wrote in every battle between the baby mamas, there is always a Leah. There is always one mother that's going to be favored over the other, and therefore her children will receive favorable treatment. And they are often referred to as the golden child because all the other children can see that this child is more favored. Now, it's not to say that the father does not love all his children. I believe Jacob loved all his children, but it's something about when that child comes from the woman that you really, really love. It's not on purpose, but it happens, unfortunately. And unfortunately, the other kids can feel that, and those kids then start to resent the brother. So you can see a brother not liking their sibling or straying away from the family because they realize that they're not favored. So why would I want to be around somewhere where I'm tolerated and I'm not celebrated? And I gotta watch this child get celebrated because they're your favorite child. Who wants to be around that? I don't. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Woman of Worth podcast. I am your host, Tanisha Burks. Take time, like, subscribe, follow, comment, share, share the podcast. I am so enjoying this series, ladies. Oh my god! And you know I'm enjoying it because I'm in the same shirt from last week again, recorded the same day. That's how you know I'm enjoying it. 4 episodes in one day. And this is because I love talking about these women. I love it because we're always so focused on the disciples and Peter and Paul and Silas. And, just really taking time to focus on the women who add just as much value to scripture as the men. I just find it exciting. I don't know. I love these women in the Bible. And I think mainly because I really can see myself and my own story in some of these women. And like I said a couple of weeks ago, you learn two things from people: what to do and what not to do for people. And reading about these women and how great they are and how some of them were great and still made mistakes, it just does something. So this week we're going to talk about two women at the same time. And we have to because they're sisters. And they were married to the same man. And I call it the battle of the baby mamas, right? That's just because I'm messy and I'm petty. But really, what we're going to call this is the competing women. Eve was the first woman. Sarah was the doubting or the laughing woman. Hagar was the compliant woman. Rachel and Leah, they are the competing woman. And I'm not saying competing women because remember, the purpose of the podcast is every woman has her own worth. So they were both competing, but they were both two separate women. Okay, so the competing woman, they both competed in different ways for the same man, and one of them already had him. One of them didn't even have the honey. It was no competition. Let's talk about it. I'm gonna read you the first paragraph in this chapter of the book. Remember, this is from my book that I honestly don't know when it's going to be published because I'm still working on it. I still have some chapters to do, y'all. I'm still in the Old Testament women, and I got New Testament women to write about. So their story is found in Genesis chapter 29, verses 10 through 30, through chapter 30, 24. So here we go. Imagine the young man, handsome man, that is your cousin. Remember I said there was married stepsisters, sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws, cousins, aunts, and all this playing. But they were marrying cousins back then, kissing cousins. So imagine a handsome man that is your cousin asking your father for your younger sister's hand in marriage. Your father agrees to this, but for your cousin to marry your sister, he must work 7 years for your father. You watch as this man works with joy, believing that he will marry your sister for all his hard work. You may feel a sense of happiness for your sister. After all, she is about to be married to a man that loves her so much, he is willing to work 7 years without pay for her. But your father comes to you and says, this man is a hard worker, and I would love for him to work another 7 years for me. I have an idea. You can lay with him after the wedding feast, and once he realizes it's you, he'll agree to work another 7 years for your sister. Reluctantly, you agree. But what you don't realize is that deep down you start to feel envious of your sister as you watch this man that is now your husband work an additional 7 years to marry your sister. Am I not enough? That's probably what was going on through this sister's mind, right? You realize that though he has you, not loves you, but though he has you, he is not satisfied or complete or happy, and he loves your sister more than he loves you. You start to resent your husband, but mostly you resent that sister. You realize that your sister can't have children, but your womb is fertile. So you give your husband children in hopes that he will notice you and can give him something that your sister can. Notice that you can give him something that your sister can't and love you, if not more than your sister. At least he can love you a little bit the same as your sister. But it doesn't work. He still loves your sister more than he loves you. To add insult to injury, when her womb is finally open and conceives, your husband loves that child more than he loves any of the other children that you gave him. You and your children were just your casualty in your. Let me read that again. You and your sister were just the casualty in your dad's selfish plan of trickery. You realize you brought children in the world with someone who never loved you, and now you have passed down to your children a spirit of resentment and jealousy. Sounds like an entertaining movie. It does. It sounds very entertaining. I will watch it. But I'm gonna tell you this: for Leah, the woman who was not loved, I don't think it was entertaining. I don't think it was fun at all. I think she had a horrible time. It was probably the most traumatic and tragic part of her story. So let's get to Rachel and Leah. Jacob is the son of Isaac, who is the son of who? Abraham and Sarah. We talked about his parents last week. So Jacob, I just want to make sure I'm reading that I said that right. Okay. Yep. Leah and Rachel are the daughters of Laban. Laban is the brother of Rebekah, who is the wife of Isaac. Isaac and Rebekah had twins, Jacob and Esau. When Rebekah was pregnant with Jacob, God told her that there were two nations inside of her wrestling, and the older brother would serve the younger brother. Jacob is the younger brother, okay? So Jacob is Isaac's son. And basically, to just kind of make a long story short, to get back to Leah and Rachel, um, Jacob tricks his brother Esau into selling his birthright when Esau was hungry. So, the birthright, you guys can kind of read into it in the Bible, but the birthright was basically like the main inheritance. You know what I'm saying? So not only did he get the birthright, but then Jacob also, so Isaac is blind and he can't see, and his way of telling apart the brothers is because Esau is hairy. So when it came time for Jacob, for Isaac to give the blessing over the son, the oldest son, so Esau is the oldest son, he's stripped out of his birthright. So now it's time for him to at least receive a blessing. When it came time, Rebecca knew that Jacob, no, Isaac was about to bless Esau. Esau was Jacob's favorite son, and Rebecca's favorite son was Jacob. Am I saying Esau was Isaac's favorite son, and Jacob was Rebecca's favorite son? So, because Rebecca wanted Jacob to have the blessing as well as the birthright, she tells uh, Jacob to dress up in this like animal skin so that when his father felt him, he would think that it was Esau and he would bless Esau. So pretty much Jacob tricked Esau out of everything. So Esau is like, when dad dies, it's OV. I'm finna pull a cane and you about to be able. I'm gonna unalive you, as y'all say. So Rebecca realizes that Esau is angry and that Esau is planning to kill Jacob when Isaac dies. So she tells Jacob to leave and to go, you know, to go to her family basically. So Jacob does, and while he's there, he sees this woman that is beautiful. Her name is Rachel. That's my godmother's name. So her name is Rachel. So he is at his mom. Jacob is at his mom's brother home. Okay. So Jacob goes to Laban, his uncle, and asks for Rachel to marry Rachel. Laban says, okay, yeah, you can marry her. Just, what can you give me? And he was like, I work for you for 7 years for free. So Laban sees how good of a worker Jacob is. He sees like he's prosperous with Jacob in his house. So he, when it came time to unveil his wife for Jacob to sleep with her, after the 7 years, when he sleeps with her, and in the morning he realizes that he slept with Leah, the oldest daughter, who is not. I don't want to say Leah was ugly, even though some people say that. I just think she wasn't beautiful to Jacob. Like that's not what he desired. He saw Rachel, he fell in love with her immediately. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman because she came from man. He knew instantly that that was his missing rib. That's all it was. I know the Bible says that Leah was something with her eyes or something like that, but I just think that she just wasn't beautiful to him because people that have stuff wrong with them are married now. Okay, so when Jacob realizes that it is Leah that he married, he goes to Laban, and Laban says, "Oh, it's not customary for the younger daughter to get married before the older." Which, why didn't you say it in the first place? Well, because I have men with me that I could have easily given to whatever her name is, Leah. I'm so sorry. I could have easily given her to Leah, them to Leah for her to be married, so that I could marry the woman that I love. So now I got to work another 14 years. Okay, another 7 years. Okay, fine. I will work another 7 years. So this is what I'm saying, that he was married to Leah, but then he worked an additional 7 years because Rachel was who he wanted. So how would you feel if a man has you and he doesn't really want you, but instead of, I don't want to say instead of being satisfied with the fact that he has you, he works an additional 7 years to marry somebody else? Like you will start to feel some type of resentment towards your sister, not realizing that the real problem, it was not Jacob, it was not Rachel. The real problem was Laban being selfish and being a trickster. But at the same time, this was Jacob's consequence because remember, he tricked his brother Esau not once but twice. So trickery is something that just kind of runs throughout this family, apparently. Okay, so um oh yeah, I'm very, very happy. So Leah and Rachel, they're married to Jacob. Leah can have kids. Rachel can't. And I believe that the Bible says that, yeah, Genesis 29:31 says, and when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. God opened Leah's womb because Jacob hated her. And not so much hated her, he just didn't want her. He didn't like her. She was just there as a casualty. You just here, you're not what I want. This is, I want Rachel. So because Rachel had all the love, she had all the attention, God opened up Leah's womb and Rachel was not able to conceive. So here's the thing. Leah starts having these kids and she's able to give um, Jacob something that Rachel can't, but she names these kids after her own pain and for the attention of her husband. Let's go there, right? The first child name was Reuben. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction, and now therefore my husband will love me. So Reuben means I want my husband to love me. Hey, husband, look at me. Did it work? Nope. Because here comes Simeon. Simeon says, the Lord heard I was hated, and he gave me a son. So the Lord heard that, hey, Jacob, the Lord, he realizes that you hate me. Here's another son. Are you going to love me now? No, I still want Rachel. Rachel can't have kids. Look, I'm gonna give you another kid, Levi. My husband will be joined to me because I bear him three sons. Hey, Jacob, Levi, three sons. Rachel, zero. Leah, three. You love me? No. So, after giving him the third child, not being loved the way she wanted, Leah gives Jacob another son, but this time she gives him a name that honors the Lord. She names him Judah, and Judah means praise. So she said, "Now I will praise the Lord." Okay, Jacob, you're not loving me because my sons. Will you love me because I praise God? I serve your God. Jacob said, "No, I still want Rachel." So, Rachel, at this point, Leah has had four sons, and Rachel has had zero. Four, zero. Oh, okay. Rachel, even though she is loved, even though she's favored, even though she's the wife that Jacob spends his time with, and that Jacob clearly wanted, that he worked 14 years for, she gets mad at Jacob for not giving her kids. And so Jacob is looking at her like, I mean, am I not enough? Now he sees how Leah feels, right? Because she wants the kids and she's not satisfied with all of his love. And you got Leah over here with the kids and still can't get his love. And Jacob in the middle looking at Rachel like, why are you mad at me that I'm not giving you kids? Like, okay, she got those kids, but I love you. I want you. Am I not enough? And so Rachel's like, um, no, you're not enough. I want kids. So here we go again with giving the servants to the husbands so that they can conceive. So that's what Rachel does. She doesn't give her servants to be a wife. Okay, she gave them so that she could be a surrogate. And so um, she gives Bilhah to Jacob so that she could bear children for Rachel. From Bilhah, Jacob has two sons. And like her older sister, Rachel named her children to show that she had one up Leah. Their name was Dan. God has judged me and given me a son. And then Naphtali, I have wrestled with my sister and prevailed. Who in the world names Jacob? Jacob. Jacob's ladder. Okay, this is the same Jacob. What have you done? What have you done that these kids can't even have a name? That means something lovely. Their names are battle wounds. That's what those names represent, right? So then once Leah, so Leah at this time, she stopped conceiving. So then Leah sees that Bilhah is giving sons to Jacob. So then now she's going to give her handmaiden to Zilpah's her handmaid. She gives so that Zilpah can bring children to Jacob. She has two sons, which gives Jacob a total of eight sons. Leah's sons Leah had a son whose name was Reuben. And here's the thing, Reuben was the oldest son. And this is how you know that kids are privy to what's going on. Because I feel like Reuben knew that there was this battle between Leah and Rachel. And I believe that Reuben knew that Jacob loved Rachel more than he loved his mom. So he's out in the field one day and he finds these, they're called mandrakes, which they help promote fertility, and he gives them to Leah. Well, Rachel finds out that Leah has these mandrakes, and Rachel asks for Leah to give her the mandrakes. And Leah says she does not want to give her the listen to this. She says, I don't want to give you the mandrakes because you've already taken my husband, and now you want my son's mandrakes. So you have the husband and you want my son's mandrakes? Genesis 30:15-17. And she said unto her, is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband, and wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and they went to meet him. And Leah went to meet him and said, thou must come unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night, and God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob a fifth son from herself. Listen, this just fell on me. This just fell on me. Jacob is coming from, Jacob is married to women who have watched their own father make Jacob work for Rachel's love. So they are again doing what they saw their father do. Leah, at least, and both of them are buying Jacob's attention. Y'all, did y'all catch that Rachel said he can sleep with you tonight if you give me the mandrakes? I'll give them to you if you give me the mandrakes. And did you also catch that Leah had to go to Jacob and say, your wife has given you, has bought you, paid for you with the mandrakes to sleep with me tonight. And so he slept with her. What does that mean, y'all? That means that when Rachel started complaining about Jacob having kids with Leah, the reason why it wasn't that Leah was barren, the reason why Leah wasn't having kids was because Jacob was not sleeping with her. He stopped, right? Because why would Rachel say, I will let him sleep with you if you give me the mandrakes? And then Leah has to go. Rachel didn't even tell him that he could sleep with her. No intentions. Leah had to go and tell him. She she said you can sleep with me for these mandrakes. So that was Jacob's clue that it was okay to sleep with Leah. Y'all see how crazy is this? So then when this happened, Leah Bear, she had a child, and this time it was a girl. And we're gonna talk about this during our next week. Girls just because girls can change their last name and all of that stuff, sons were like the important thing, right? So you see in the Bible when it talks about Dinah, it's just like and he bare and she bare him Dinah, and then it goes on, and then you don't hear about Dinah again until I believe the next chapter, or yeah, to Genesis 30, because girls just weren't important. But Dinah has a story, and we're gonna talk about that next week. So then, after she bears him 9 children, God finally remembers Rachel and opens her womb. And she finally conceives, not from her handmaid, but from her own womb. The favorite wife finally has a child named Joseph, who was Jacob's absolute favorite child. And we talked about Joseph last season. We talked about how his brothers hated him because he was his dad's favorite child. And then he had another son with Rachel named Benjamin, but Rachel died in birth. Y'all know what's funny? Is that after Rachel died, we never hear about anything between Jacob and Leah again. And I'm going to have to look it up because I'm not sure if Leah had passed before Rachel. But I just find it ironic that if Leah was still alive, he didn't continue anything with Leah. Why? Because Leah was not who he wanted. Again, casualty. So, y'all, I'm tired. When I say this was like truly the battle of the baby mamas, this was the battle of the baby mama. I can't conceive, you gonna conceive. I can't conceive, you gonna conceive. You get a baby, you get a baby, you get a baby. I get a baby. It was just way too much. It was just way too much. All because of their dad. Neither of these girls signed up to be a pawn or a piece of property. And now they hate each other. They're battling each other. And not just them, but the kids. Brothers. Now, all of Leah's kids and the kids that were had with uh, Rachel's handmaid, they got along. But when that old Joseph came, that's when the brothers, there was that separation of, we don't like you. You can't sit with us. Because that was actually a child from Rachel, the beloved wife, instead of their mother, the wife that's just there. So that's what I'm saying. Kids, they felt that tension. They knew what was going on. Okay. Let's see if there's anything I want to read. This is something that's important to me. It is unclear if Rachel and Leah ever fixed their fractured relationship. The Bible doesn't tell us if they had a good relationship prior to this. But one thing we know to be true is that Leah's boys, along with Bilhah, and Zilpha's boys, hated their brother, cousins, Joseph, because they saw the favor on his life from his father, which will also signify that these boys did not like Joseph's mother, Rachel, who was their aunt slash stepmother, because they saw how their father treated their mother compared to how he treated Rachel. One big family dysfunction, and at the root of it all was Laban. Amazing how one person can cause such calamity in an entire family. One person caused all of this. Well, all that man had to do was to be his give Rachel to be Jacob's wife. But I am going to say that it all happened for a reason, and it all worked for the good, because Judah Jesus is actually from the line of Judah. Jesus' genealogy traces back to Judah, which was whew, Leah's son, the one that she actually named Praise. So Jesus came from a line of a rejection. Isn't that amazing how God used somebody that was rejected to birth greatness into the world? And, like I say, Leah is often looked at as the villain, but neither Rachel or Leah are the villains in this story. The villain is their dad for causing this friction between the sisters. But it had to happen so that Jesus could come. And I'm sure God could have went through other means, but it means a lot more when you realize that in Jesus' genealogy, this perfect man, this perfect being, he came from rejection, from lying, from trickery, from adultery, from thievery. All of that is in his family line. And yet he still chose to walk out his life in a way that honored God. Even though all of that was he didn't take all of that and say, "Oh, this is on me. This is in my family, so I have to accept it." He was the complete opposite. So you don't have to accept what is attached to your family's bloodline, but you do need to know what's attached to the bloodline so that you know what you need to defeat, so that you know what generational curse you need to break in your family. Y'all get what I'm saying? Jesus was the curse breaker. Realize that everything after that, it stopped at Jesus, and there was nothing after that. There was nothing in Jesus' family bloodline that signified the rejection that that bloodline had experienced. Y'all get what I'm saying? So, what does she look like today? And this is funny, y'all. I wrote, in every battle between the baby mamas, there is always a Leah. There is always one mother that's going to be favored over the other, and therefore her children will receive favorable treatment. And they are often referred to as the golden child because all the other children can see that this child is more favored. Now, it's not to say that the father does not love all his children. I believe Jacob loved all his children, but it's something about when that child comes from the woman that you really, really love. It's not on purpose, but it happens, unfortunately. And unfortunately, the other kids can feel that, and those kids then start to resent the brother. So you can see a brother not liking their sibling, or straying away from the family because they realize that they're not favored. So why would I want to be around somewhere where I'm tolerated and I'm not celebrated, and I gotta watch this child get celebrated because they're your favorite child? Who wants to be around that? I don't. And that's why, as a mother, I make sure both of my kids think the other one is the favorite, which lets me know that I did a darn good job of making sure both of my kids got preferential treatment and not just one. I did a good job of recognizing my kids' strengths and their weaknesses, where I need to fill in for one. I don't need to fill in for the other one. So now when I'm filling in for one, now the other child thinks it's the favorite. But baby, you ask me for stuff too, and I show up for you. I'm showing up for both of y'all. That's the kind of, and that comes from me learning about this story in the Bible, and I only have two, and so I don't want one of my children to feel like Joseph and the other ones to feel like the other eight kids that he had. No, I want y'all both to feel like both of y'all are my Joseph. That's why I asked for one girl and one boy. So that not one girl feels like she's not the favorite girl. Nope. You're my favorite boy, you're my favorite girl. You're my only. You're my only. So you're both my favorite. Understand what I'm saying? One man caused all of this, right? All of this. Let me see something. Don't want to talk about that. I think I'm gonna leave that in the book. Y'all buy the book. It just talks about how a woman can have a child with a man, and then they see the other woman get the ring, and they try to make that child's father a living hell, and the new wife's life a living hell, because they're mad that the new woman got the ring, and so now they don't want their baby around the wife and the daddy, but then they're saying the dad is a deadbeat. But the fact of the matter is, you want the dad to come over and spend time with you and the child, and he has a whole wife at home. That's not fair. Like, okay, he didn't choose you. Again, it's okay. It's okay that you're not his rib. It is okay. There is a man that you will complete, ladies. Let that man see his child. And furthermore, you need to be getting along with the wife because you want to make sure that wife is treating your child like your child is her very own. And sometimes when you don't, when you mistreat the child, the wife doesn't want to be bothered with your kid because that means you're teaching the child to be disrespectful to the wife. And that's not right. And I don't know why I said that. That's not in my book. And that's certainly not what I had planned to say. But somebody out there doing it, and stop, girl, go on. Let that man be with his kid. I would rather my child have two mothers, that a mother and a stepmother that love them and that gives them the best of everything, that's going to take care of my kids, make sure they have food to eat, shelter over their head, looking good, than to be sent over somewhere bitter because baby daddy didn't chose somebody else. And I really can't say that I understand what you're feeling because, like I said, both of my kids' fathers passed away when they were very young, so I didn't have to see them with anybody else. As a matter of fact, I did. My daughter's father I did, and his last girlfriend that he was with loved her to death. Her name was Heaven. Loved her. She was heavenly. When I tell you that woman loved my daughter, and when I saw how much she loved my daughter, I had no choice but to love her. No choice. And plus I left the relationship. So what I'm mad that he moved on for. So the Leahs of today are, so the Rachels are the ones that's gonna like keep their keep their child away, right? They're the Rachels are the one that's chosen, basically. I shouldn't say keep their child away. The Rachels are the one that's chosen. They know their worth. They know their value. They know their love. They're not trying to be hated on by the next woman because they got the man. They're just trying to love your child and love their man and be happy in their relationship. The Leahs of today are the women that we wish knew their value. We're the Leahs are the women that we look at and we say, dang, I wish she would just move on with her life and just realize like she didn't lose, she probably actually won. Like the Leahs are the ones that stay somewhere where they're not wanted just so that they can be somewhere, just so that they can say they have somebody. Right. And out of fear of not being chosen or not finding the right one, they usually gravitate towards those relationships where they are the second. The Leahs are what I used to be, the woman that accepts being in an adulterous relationship because they feel that that's the safest place, because then you're not technically being rejected, but then in reality you really are. But they're not being rejected, they're just being understanding that there is somebody else in the picture that may get the person's attention more. You get what I'm saying? So the Leahs are the people who just place themselves in a situation because they just they have a fear of missing out, a fear of being left alone. But there's value in your alone time, and there's that when you're alone, that's time for you to build on yourself and for you to allow God to make and mold and shape you into the woman that you were created to be, so that if it is his will that you be married, that you can be the woman that that man needs, that he can automatically see you and say, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This is my missing rib when he sees you. But if you are covered in low self esteem and low self worth, he's not going to see you. If you're in an adulterous relationship, he's not going to see you. And I told you before what God told me when I was in a relationship like that. And I asked God, God, where's my husband? He said, you have one. He's not yours, but you got a husband. So there's no way I can give you a husband if you already have one. You got to let that woman's husband, you got to leave him alone so I could give you what's yours. That's if you want it. That's if you can pick yourself up and wipe yourself out of this low self esteem that you have. Right? And then here's something that I wrote. Hold on, I'm just reading this. Rachel's are the women we think is winning. Keyword think. Remember, although Rachel still had the man, she still felt the need to compete because she thought her husband desired release. So forget everything I said a few minutes ago. Um, Rachel is the woman who lost her worth because her husband has slept with many women. And now she feels she must compete with these women to show her worth. Ooh, Tanisha. God, I should say. Often convincing herself that though he may be out sleeping with other women, he still comes home to her at night. Dear Rachel, there is no worth in that either. Rachel looks like she has it all, but deep down she's in turmoil. Rachel's dad may very well have been an active participant in her life, but a piece of her is missing because her mother has failed her in some way. She's a great asset to her husband, but there is nurture in her that is missing that he gets from the Leahs in the world. They're often pitted against each other, but truthfully, if they came together and learned from each other, they could build up each other and both can learn to be full, complete women. If Rachel and Leah came together, they can mend their fracture in the family that was caused by the absent father or the missing mother. Ladies, we can no longer allow Laban to plant seeds of dysfunction in our lives and the lives of our families. Leah shouldn't compete with Rachel, and Rachel shouldn't compete with Leah. They both have worth, and just because one can do something that the other can't doesn't mean that one is better than the other. I am my sister's keeper, not her competitor. I am not whole because I am better than her. I'm whole because I am my sister and my sister's me. Y'all, I don't need to take or add anything else to that. That is a snippet right from the book. No more battles of the baby mamas. Okay? These are the competing women, and these women that are in competition, direct competition with each other, don't realize their value and the worth that they have within. Y'all, I'm going to take an extensive break, meaning I'm probably not going to record the next episode of this series till tomorrow. So I'll be in a different shirt and possibly a different wig. Nevertheless, these 4 episodes have been amazing. Is it 4? Yeah, these 4 episodes have been amazing. I love it. Is yeah, I've loved these episodes before. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you next week. Remember, be blessed. All right. Bye.